In the city of Leduc, Alberta, a new council term is underway, bringing together a mix of very fresh faces and some familiar faces. Last month, residents headed to the polls electing a new council to steer the city forward. Among those elected was newly elected Councillor Shawn Raymond. Now, he joins his colleagues and mayor in leading the city forward over the next 4 years. We recently sat down with Councillor Raymond to talk about leadership, priorities, and what's ahead for the term ahead for the City of Leduc. This is Municipal Affairs. From the smallest village to the largest city, across every region of the province, Alberta Municipalities represents the communities where over 85% of Albertans live. AB Munis provides a united voice for 265 of Alberta's 330 municipalities, including summer villages, towns, cities, and specialized municipalities. As Alberta's largest municipal group, AB Munis listens to municipal leaders and advocates for solutions to their common issues. Additionally, AB Munis supports local governments by providing services specially designed to meet their operational needs. And they bring their members together regularly so they can share ideas and information so that their communities can thrive. Check out Alberta Municipalities at abmunis.ca and follow them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, now called X. Councillor, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about yourself, talking about the recent election, but also talking about the path forward. I guess I should start off by saying congratulations on your election win. How does it feel, and how was that election night, seeing the results come in and seeing you one of the members that are joining the city council this term?
Thank you so much for having me here, Chris. Honestly, to answer that question, it was a whirlwind of emotions, but I'm happy that a long 10-month campaign paid off so splendidly well at the end of it. Getting a call at 2 o'clock in the morning from the chief administrator of offices was not the wake-up call I thought I was going to get on Tuesday morning, but it was a call I was definitely open to receiving. So it's been a wild ride, but I'm very thankful to be here.
So what's been your initial reaction? I know when we're recording this is your technically first official day on the job as councillor for the city of Leduc. But been the last 2 weeks like? Has it been a lot of orientation and getting to know the other members of council around the table that you're going to be working with over the next 4 years?
It definitely has been that, but I think the people that were elected here in Leduc were actually already a team during the campaign season. We all already knew each other. We've all been engaged with community in different retrospects, whether that's our non-for-profits, different organizations or boards. We've already been in that collaborative atmosphere together. So it kind of feels like now we have the rebar between us and forcing us to really collaborate as a team instead of us just hoping that we get to work together. And honestly, I've been in and out of admin building for the last 2.5 years at all of the council meetings. So now it's just them saying hi, Councillor Raymond, instead of hi, Shawn. So it's really been good. It's been good.
So we are now on day one of your official term, and that means the candidate hat is officially gone and the councillor hat is on. What do you see as your first priority as you head into this next 4 years now that you have been elected, learning what you learned during the election period from the residents that you spoke with?
I think our first step of measure is making sure that we're ready to take the reins over from exiting council. I think a lot of people jump into, I want to start this project, I want to go on this, I want to jump here, I want to fly. But I think it really has to be a calm, level-headed approach to a handoff of a municipality with a budget in the millions. It really has to be something that you have to educate yourself on. Having access to all of this information that I've been waiting for 2.5 years doesn't make me want to go and build skyscrapers tomorrow. It makes me want to understand what's happening even more. The council as a collective has definitely pinpointed a couple of things that we want to prioritize out of next year's budget already, and that's going to be something that comes out of strategic planning. But I think for right now, we're really just trying to take it slowly, work with administration, figure out what the rest of the fiscal responsibilities look like for this year, and really be ready to come up with a new strategic plan in the spring months.
So how do you do that then? Because this is a unique team that is going to be led by a brand new mayor because your former mayor did not stand for re-election, and now you're led
Mhm.
by Mayor Lars Hansen, who was a former councillor and probably one of the seats that you currently occupy. But
Yep.
what do you see as working alongside your council members to ensure that all voices are represented, but the path forward includes everyone in the city of Leduc, even the people who didn't vote for anyone on this council?
Absolutely, and I like that you mentioned it or phrased it like that. We had a pretty low voters turnout. We had about 18% of qualified voters come out to the polls this year. So a little bit disheartening, but it definitely goes to show that we need to represent and show the voices what municipal politics can do to enhance each other's quality of life. And I think that's why the council is elected as it is. We have an equal ratio of male to female. We have inclusive people. We have age demographics in the 60 plus category. I'm the only one under 30. So I feel like we have demographics across the board. And the people that did get elected, we ran really good campaigns. We connected with our seniors. We went to all of the square dancing nights. We all collectively made sure that we were showing up together, showing face. And even in the first couple of days, we've already had our poppy ceremony, and having us all there and connect with our RCMP, our Legion, our Lions Club, our Rotary has been inspiring. And it's felt so, I know it's cliche to say, but it sounds and feels like we're just a family just doing the thing right now. It feels like we've all been in our community for so long already that it's easy, honestly.
While families can agree, but we've all been to those Thanksgiving dinners and those Christmas dinners where families do not often agree. How important is it for you to respect the process, but also respect the different voices that are around that council table? Because I can imagine while you guys want to work together and are going to try to work together, there are going to be some issues that you will see polar opposites on. Do you see yourself being able to work with this new council as you see them laying bare in the first 2 weeks?
Absolutely. And again, it's I'm in a very, very blissful position because we ran such cohesive campaigns together. We already kind of know what things we're going to get along with and what things that we're going to have to kind of help each other understand another one's perspective. And we've already mentioned that in some of our meetings. I think this new elected council is by far one of the most open-minded councils that are willing to hear each other's sides. I think the last exiting council, they were very cooperative with each other, but I feel like there are definitely some strong personalities that did eventually make for some rifts between council, but I think that's what's meant to happen. I think this new incoming council, because we've been so actively engaged in the last couple of years, those conversations aren't really what I'd say is arguments or talking points at the dinner table. It's more of like a passive conversation of, I do remember you saying that in opposition to my statements, but I do feel like we see eye to eye on this and we can move forward with an understanding. So the first couple of weeks of orientation, again, I hate to say it, but it's just been easy. We really have mutual respect and understanding for each other.
So while it has been easy for orientation, the first big piece of legislation that you will have to put your vote name behind, and that is the budget. Now I know that you've already started the process of looking at said budget, but as of tonight,
Mhm.
you're going to officially be the one who's deciding the next year's budget and the property tax increase if there is any. I'm hedging my bets saying that there might or may not be because I do not want to sort of put the finger on the scale. What do you see your role in during this all important budget talk? Because when you and I first chatted, we talked about affordability. We had talked
Yep.
about affordability for seniors, for young people like yourself getting into housing. How do you see yourself bringing your perspective, but what also you heard at the doors to this budget conversation?
I think there's, again, two ways of looking at this. A lot of the existing residents that are not current members of Leduc are really just looking for low cost affordability. They want to get into whatever is the cheapest. And to some of those people, that demographic can be apartment buildings, townhomes, 12-foot wide builds, 14-foot wide lot sizes. So those people, they want to get into Leduc because of what Leduc has to offer, being that town vibe, but with the big city amenities. And then there's other people that are already residents in Leduc and looking for something bigger and better and a little bit more affordable. So that becomes a little bit more of a cumbersome conversation. And I think that's why we're looking forward to collaborating with so many of our partners. I think some of our developers have pitched really great infrastructure ideas, but an idea is only good on paper, and we have to bring it back to admin to make sure that it makes sense. We've already heard a lot of kickback about getting the eight plexes in, and I don't think that's something that a lot of the community is excited for. I think we do have to have a little bit more information on what that looks like in our community. Right now, I don't see that being a big piece of what affordability looks like, but I'm excited to see what other ideas our developers can come to in terms of alternates to apartment buildings. Maybe we don't need a giant fourplex apartment building, but maybe there's something in the middle between a townhouse and an apartment building that kind of gives us a little bit of both. And I think the other thing that we have to be aware of is a lot of people don't have bandwidth to be taking care of yards to the capacity that some people think they would like to. So I do also have to say I am kind of liking that some of the developers are taking that responsibility away from some of the homeowners. So there's good things coming down the pipeline, but ultimately it's the people that will make that decision. I'm just happy to hear more ideas.
And that all comes back to the big old question that we talked about earlier on just a few seconds ago is about engagement. Now you so eloquently put it, 18% people came out to vote in Leduc. Now that is not the lowest I've heard. That is a lot higher than some of the other
Yeah,
communities that I've heard. And
yeah.
but that is still, in my opinion, alone, not the councillors, that is shameful, in my opinion, that we are under 25% across the board in the province of Alberta when it comes to municipal politics, because I believe municipal politics is the best level of government. How do you see yourself engaging? And I'm going to sort of play this on the two different angles here. Engaging with all residents, but you are the youngest member of this new council. How do you see yourself being that bridge between council? And I hate to say this because I will feel like the old man in the room, but the millennials and the Gen Alphas and the Gen whatever they are right now,
The
the
Gen,
young
Gen, Gen, Gens. Yes, yes.
whatever they are, how do you see yourself being that bridge in bridging the gap between what our younger generations, and I still can't believe I'm saying that in 2025, but here we are, to ensure that come 2029, we are not having an election where there's only 9% turnout.
Yes, and I think that's something that I wanted to get into right now to elicit that growth in the population's engagement for 2029. I started to run for campaign because I recognized there was a demographic of only people 35 and above running for council, and I wanted to be a voice for that younger demographic. I think creating a social media presence was one of the things that I needed to do to make sure that the younger demographic, whatever millennial generation that is, had access to information that didn't sound like legal jargon. It took me 2 years confidently going to council chamber meetings to understand what municipal reserves were and what all of the abbreviations stood for. So for me to be one of those people that can take a document, a 300-page agenda, and convert it into some sort of legible English format that can be watched in 60 seconds, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, you name it, I think is going to create a lot more of a bridge to elicit conversations to a younger demographic. And my council members and admin have already said, Shawn, the youthfulness that you bring into the chambers and capturing the behind the scenes is exactly what we've been hoping would happen. And the fact that you're doing it and doing it with such confidence makes us feel confident in being this authentic and turning this new page and being transparent to a different level that they themselves were hoping they would get to one day. But I think I've just sped it up a little bit more for them.
So how do you see yourself then connecting with, and I say this respectfully to yourself, but to the seniors vote? Because while it's good to be on social media and connect with the younger demographic, I'm going to burst your little bubble here a bit, but most of those generations do not pay property taxes, but they are residents, so they do have they do have the ability to have a voice at the council, and they should have a voice at the council. But seniors vote more often, and they are voting in numbers. How do you see yourself to bridge that gap to ensure that you're not just speaking to the younger generation, you're speaking to the generation of me?
Mhm. So there's a couple of different ideas that the municipality is already looking at. Our local Leduc representative paper is something that we can definitely enhance in terms of what we publish on there. And then we also want to make sure that we're getting back into the mail outs and into the actual retirement homes. I think the communication has broken, and again, not to point blame in any area, but not having that steady, reliable mail delivery service has really made it hard, especially for the mail outs for the campaign. That was That was a hard one to swallow, but I think honestly, during the campaign trails, it was very adamant that if you put the effort into knocking on those senior retirement homes and hosting town hall discussions, and I heard it all the time, the city doesn't host any more town halls. Well, they do host them, but they call them community engagement events. No one in the residents understand what community engagement means. They think it's like this pop quiz or something. So use the same language that they're used to and just call it a town hall. I called my last meeting a town hall and I had better engagement on it on social media just for calling it a town hall. No one showed up, but the town hall is just the language that we need to be using and eliciting so that those people feel like they know what they're walking into. All of this new verbiage gets confusing, and I think we need to kind of simplify it.
So it brings up the age-old question because one thing I often hear from residents outside of election periods is, "Oh, council is elected, so they will never come to my door. They will never come
Mhm.
to see me." How do you see yourself going to where the people are at? Because you can't expect everyone to come to you every single time they have an issue. You have to go to them sometimes as a counselor. How do you see yourself doing that? Will you be out door knocking next summer, or will you be sitting at home just hoping people will call you up or send you a Facebook message?
And I love that you already bring that up, is because it's already something we've talked about. We should be hosting town halls. We should still be doing door knocking in the summer. The events that we host at the summer events aren't just let's come together and hip hip hooray. Let's talk about the things in the community. Let's engage. Let's discuss. And again, no matter how many times we send out a QR code for someone to sign in and do it, the most valuable way to get feedback is having a conversation face to face. So I foresee myself staying planted with my feet in the community, still doing the door knocking. And I still see myself hosting my own Councillor Raymond town halls. I can't speak for my other candidates, but I do definitely feel like keeping that open communication, word to word, mouth to mouth, face to face, is the most important thing that I think we've forgotten.
So I wanted to flip the script a little bit and talk about the path forward. Now we are on
Yeah.
day one of the almost 4 years that we will have to go through here. What do you see as your path forward to 2029? What do you want to see the city of Leduc? And I say yourself because you have a strategic priorities, you have a council. This is your opinion and your opinion alone. What do you see the city of Leduc growing into in the next 4 years?
I see the city of Leduc growing into still an amazing sports tourism community, but I want it to be a little bit more diverse. Our hockey rinks are at 99% capacity, so we need to work towards taking the steps needed towards a rec center or some other community initiative for sports. Soccer dome, something of the similar sorts, but we need more community spaces for our younger sports and athletes and organizations to just host events out of. I definitely feel like the city of Leduc needs to get ready, and we talked about this on the last one, needs to get prepared and ready for an annexation. I think the land that we have is definitely going to not last as long as we had anticipated or as my predecessors had assumed it would last for. And I think that's a conversation that City of Leduc and County of Leduc are going to move into. But I think it needs to be a little bit more of a conversation piece. I think we need to band arms together and understand how we can collaborate together in that. And then I also do feel like, and it's hot trigger words, but I definitely want to make sure that the community is still a diverse group. It's a robust community, and I want to make sure that Leduc is not pigeonholed as the oil town because of Niskew's proximity to us. I want Leduc to remain a robust, diverse community where people lead the community and community builds us together. I don't want it to get sidetracked. I want us to be able to utilize the 65th Ave interchange. I want us to have partnerships with the airport. I want us to be one of the leaders in economic growth for the future.
Counselor, you mentioned the word diversity. Now, in the last term of office, we saw what happened in the city of Leduc with a council meeting being canceled during a public open house. There were slurs used around the painting of a crosswalk in downtown the city of Leduc. Now, as an openly, I apologize if I'm
Yep.
getting this
Yep.
wrong,
Go for it.
openly
Openly
queer
proud gay
man.
man.
Oh,
Yep.
gay man. Okay, that's why I'm never sure if it's queer or gay, but openly gay man. Does this give you hope that the city of Leduk's sort of aura that had been painted last year or in the last term has been washed away because they have put their trust in you?
I don't think it's been washed away. And the first thing I want to say is that the city of Leduc is a diverse community where all are welcome. So that's the first thing I want everyone to take away from that. I think the change in council from what was to is, I think exemplifies and simply shows what inclusivity looks like. We have age demographic 60 plus, under 30, double minorities, triple minorities, single moms, married moms, extended families all coming together. I think that this council really does a very good job in exemplifying what diverse leadership looks like. And I think that's what the world should be leaning towards is diverse leadership with compassionate integrity.
I appreciate that answer. I want to talk about yourself here for a second because the next four
Yeah.
years, you're also going to be growing as a person, but also as a counselor. How do you see yourself growing into this role?
I see myself growing into this very organically. I think I started my inspirational calling to activism about 3 years ago, and it had to do with that Pride crosswalk and becoming a business owner and understanding permits, policies, bylaw procedures, all of that type of stuff. And I think it's going to be a natural evolution of me just growing into a little bit more of an esteemed professionalism. I think right now I'm still in my youth and I'm not naive to not warrant that, but I think the education of what I have is only what I've applied in the last 2.5, 3 years. And I'm excited to hear more experiences of where and how Leduc has gotten to where it's been. And I'm more actually inspired to have more conversations with neighboring municipalities to see what that growth looks like moving forward. Leduc is an epicenter outside of Edmonton on its own. Then there are the smaller municipalities further than that. And I think we have to lean in and support each other. And I think that's something that I'm looking forward to growing in the future is just it not being about just our municipality. Yes, it is us first and foremost, but we have to make sure that we're collaborating with our neighbors.
So we are going to put on our magic hat here for a second, time traveler hat, and put ourselves into September of 2029 when the next municipal election is about to happen. I know we just finished the last one, but as you know, this series, The Path Forward, is where we're going to come back in 4 years' time and see if this has happened. What do you hope the city of Leduc transforms into in 4 years' time that you can say, if you decide to run for reelection? I know you're not thinking about that right now. And if you are, let's have that conversation in about 2 seconds. But what do you hope the city of Leduc becomes in 2029? So that way, if you decide to run for reelection, you can go to the people and say, this is what we've accomplished. What do you want to get accomplished?
I hope that we can accomplish becoming a leader in economic infrastructure for the greater capital region. I foresee Leduc being the number one touch point in terms of support for Edmonton, Strathcona, all of the neighboring municipalities. I see Leduc being an epicenter for infrastructure and growth. I feel like Fire Hall 3 coming up is going to service not only Leduc, but the Nisku Park, the business park, Beaumont. I feel like Leduc is positioned to have growth that some neighboring cities have undergone 10 years ago. I think the previous council has set us up in terms of our economic charging stations, in terms of our highway infrastructure, in terms of our growth. I just feel like Leduc is going to be the it factor in the next 4 years. I feel like we'll kind of be like a mini Edmonton.
Well, we will watch as it unfolds. And, Counselor, I feel like this is not our last conversation you and I have until that next term. So I look forward to our continued conversation and continued conversations about what's going on in the city of Leduc for the people of Alberta, but also people of Canada understand as they watch this across the
Yes.
country. So thank you so much for doing this. Greatly appreciate it. And best of luck over the next 4 years. You're going to need it because you're drinking from the fire hose now. Get ready for the next like month because it's going to be fun.
Yep, it's going to be fun. And again, Chris, thank you so much for hosting this podcast and having me on as a guest. The work that you do and the inspiration that you send out into the world is absolutely amazing. So thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Municipal Affairs. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights into the world of municipal politics in the province of Alberta when it comes to the upcoming 2025-2029 term. Now, your support means the world to us. So if you can, share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community and help keep the conversation going. Also, if you're listening to this on a podcast platform that you like, hit that subscribe button now. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that follow button now as well to ensure that we can continue bringing you more stories like you saw and heard today. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with a brand new episode of Municipal Affairs shortly. Till then, everyone.